Okay, recording started.
Okay, we've actually been doing some writing this morning in the chat room, so I'd love to continue it. And one of the things that's so interesting about writing is the benefits to us. And I'm just curious if you are already a journaler, and it doesn't matter if you journal once a year or if you journal every day, you're a journaler. And if you consider yourself to be a journaler, I'd love for you to say that in the chat room. When we think about the benefits to writing, it allows us to express our emotions. And when we express our emotions, we also process what's happening, which helps us reduce stress. It's keeping it in that creates even more stress. Oh, thank you guys so much for sharing in the chat room. I love that there are some all caps journalers. That's awesome. In addition, writing can help us sort through what has happened. Oftentimes in a caregiving experience, at the end of the day, we think, what in the world just happened today? And if we write it out, we actually see the story through our words, and then we understand the story a little bit better. What's interesting is it also can help us manifest a stress reduction practice. So if we're writing regularly, it can help us reduce our blood pressure and it increases our immune function. And if you are someone who repeats a story, and I am someone who repeats stories because they just were so stressful and painful, one of the ways that we can stop the repetition of a story is to write it out. If we write it out, it helps us process it and release it, which means we may then not have to keep repeating it. And I think it's so interesting when we think about how writing, especially before bed, can help us improve the quality of our sleep. And who doesn't need better sleep? In addition, writing can help us with our own self-awareness. Just as we're writing out a story, what we understand then are the triggers in the story that might have caused, for instance, our angry reaction. And it might also help us understand what others are doing that causes a response within ourselves. It's so helpful when we have that self-awareness around situations in our life that in the moment don't seem to make sense. And if we write about it, we can create sense about them. In addition, writing can help us with goal setting. Yesterday, I talked about routine. One of the routines I've really committed to figuring out is my morning routine. And after I do my morning routine, I actually write that it's done. And that's a journaling exercise as well. And after I write that I've done my morning routine, I really feel like, whoa, I did something for myself. Something for myself is done. I have often thought about, what would it be like if I journaled regularly? For me, it's very intimidating to just look at a blank page and start writing. For me, I need a prompt to start writing. And what I started thinking about in 2003, if you can believe that, 2003, I started thinking about what's a one-word prompt I could write about related to a caregiving experience. And when I looked for inspiration for my prompts, I started thinking about, well, what's happening in the world, my world right now? What's a one-word description of that event? I would write based on an emotion, a one-word emotion. It could be tears that would inspire me to write. I also started observing situations and circumstances and relationships. And from observation, I was able to think of a prompt from one word that would describe what I had just seen. My own personal experiences became a one-word prompt. And then when I was frustrated, the frustration would lead me to a one-word prompt, which would be helpful then to write about. And when I used one word to start writing, I then created an actual process for writing about that one word. The word inspired a description around the experience of that word. And then it inspired writing about the emotion attached to that word, and then the challenges around that word. So one word became really descriptions related to the experience, the emotions, and the challenges. That would be the first part of what I wrote. And then I thought, well, I can't, I can't stop there, because when I stopped there, I still felt bad about the word I was writing about, because it typically was something that was a challenge or a struggle or painful. And I thought, I don't want to stay stuck in the pain. I don't want to end there. What I did then was thought about the other side of that word. What's the perspective I can gain because of that word? What's a new belief I could create around that word? What's a future I could create for myself because I want to be different from what was the pain? So I really committed to writing about the reality of that word. And the reality, again, was often around pain and hurt. And then I wanted to pivot to somehow feeling better. So I'm going to give you some examples of what that sounds like. I think I'll do swift and swallow. And swift was inspired when Taylor Swift was on her Eras tour. We all talked about Taylor Swift. And then I started listening to her music and I thought, what would it sound like to write about the word Swift and use some of Taylor's songs in that. And I'm going to go ahead and mute who's ever, yeah. If you guys could stay muted, that would be great. The background noise is a little distracting. Okay. So here's Swift. This is what I wrote about from the one word swift. You know all too well how the swiftness of a caregiving day can leave you breathless. You try so hard to be in concert with the schedule, the needs, the tasks, the deadlines. But they all play a different instrument to a different beat, which means you simply feel out of tune with the day's rhythm. You sometimes feel like you can't breathe because of all the demands. Other times, you can feel like your day is like starring in a movie. You can't believe this is your reality, except you can't pick the role you play, and you receive your script after you need it. You want what's best for others, but they seem to label you the anti-hero, which leads you to scream inside your head, "Don't blame me." You would love to shake it off, leave the frustrations and resentments behind, but you find yourself just stuck in bad blood. Throughout your moments and seasons, at daylight, in August, and in December, you just wish you could start over without the baggage, with just a blank space. Each day feels like a year. Each year feels like eras. Caregiving can feel like wearing a cardigan when the outside temperature is 90 degrees, turning what could have been a good day into a cruel summer. How do you tailor a day that works with and for you? Decide your day can be a love story to yourself. Give yourself time to sing the songs that warm your heart and lift your soul. Allow yourself a chance to be enchanted with the idea that this style of your life will inspire you to create something beautiful that will bring comfort to others. Be kind, generous, and gracious with yourself. You'll create the karma you deserve. Okay, so that was swift. So let me tell you how I wrote about swallow. And I wrote swallow when both of my parents were hospitalized at the same time. And I was truly entrenched within my caregiving experience. And I felt like I couldn't swallow, and caregiving was swallowing me up. It was the only word I could think of that described what it felt like. So I sat down to write about swallow. And here's what I wrote. Some days I think I will be swallowed by caregiving, swallowed by the pressing need to be available when caregiving needs me, regardless of the hour, my plans, my energy level. Swallowed by the weight of the responsibility to have the right answers and solutions and supplies on a moment's notice. Swallowed by the sadness as I watch my parents struggle to keep up, to hang on, to continue. And yet, I can't wallow in the swallow. I can swallow back my fear. I am strong enough. I can swallow back my doubts. I am wise enough. I can swallow back my worries. I am brave enough. I can breathe in gratitude for the opportunity to be present during my parents' most vulnerable hours. I can breathe in gratitude for the chance to learn and grow and get better. I can breathe in gratitude to be part of one of life's most important experiences. I can breathe. Okay, I think I'll read you cry too, and then you guys are going to start writing. Okay, here we go. Cry. You've had a long night, which means you're having a really long day. You want to cope. Really, you're just moments away from a good cry. It's so frustrating when you can't sleep. It's awful that you are regularly robbed of rest. You're crying for what you've lost, what you have to endure, and what you face. It's okay to cry. Rather than using your energy to hold back the tears, release what hurts with a good cry. After the cry, know we want you to gain better days. Enjoy rather than endure, and be happy rather than dread. We hope your next cry is from tears of joy. That's the kind of cry you deserve. Okay. So I'd love for you to do a little writing too. And we're going to write using one word to inspire a 6-word story. Because sometimes it can feel a little intimidating and think, what am I going to write about? And then if we can get it down to 6 words, it can be helpful. And your 6-word story can be about a right now perspective that helps you feel like I can cope. I can continue. I am strong enough. Your 6-word story could be this idea that you could embrace a better belief or wish or future. So you're going to write 2 stories, a 6-word story about your right now reality, and then a second one, which includes a belief or a wish for better. Here are some examples. I dread another death. That's my right now reality. And then I can follow it up by writing, I welcome being of service again. Another 6-word story about the right now reality. I lose faith for better days. If I were to write something that helps me embrace faith, I could write, I hold faith to keep better days. Okay, I'd love for you to start writing a 6-word story about your right now reality and share it in the chat room. And then once we write our right now reality, let's write how we can turn that to feel better. And I'm actually going to share a tool that you can use as well. So we have these tools we call caregiving wheels, and we have probably about 70 of them that I've created. I started creating them in 2018 and then I couldn't stop. And so I created a writing wheel to help you with a prompt if that's easier. So you could take one of these words and write about your right now reality. And Irma has one that is great. Not enough time for everything. Wow, not enough time for everything. Okay, and Ken is writing, seeking to defeat cancer. That's the right now reality, followed up by, my wife is on the mend. That's awesome. That's awesome. When we think about the challenges that we have, oh, Eric, that's great. Erica's sharing enjoyment of sleep. Wow, does that does that say everything with just 3 words, right? Oh, and when we have the end of the day weariness that is because of productivity, not because of stress, and we climb into bed, we're like, I am so weary from all I created and produced today. It's a good weariness. I'm going to be able to fall asleep. It's not the weariness from worry and stress, which then can make it hard to sleep. Oh, I love this one. I can't breathe. Oh, I breathe through the stressful days. And Pam is sharing, peace is elusive, but possible. Oh, Maxine, I love this one. There are too many things that need me. Yeah. Honored to care, but tired and burnt out. Marla is sharing, where does my life lead ahead? Ooh, faith gives me hope and perseverance. Oh, wow. Perfect. Perfect. I dread a late night call, writes Barbara. I am equipped to handle what comes. Oh, wow. Yeah, we dread those late night calls. I just made my stomach turn, to be honest with you, thinking about that. And Marilyn is writing, I am sleep deprived. Oops, sorry. Just want to get, I lost you, Marilyn, but I'll get back there. Marilyn, can you type yours? Oh, here we go. I got you. I am sleep deprived. My sleep has returned. You know, I love that we give permission to just say what life feels like for us right now. It's hard to pretend. And oftentimes during a caregiving experience, we have this public face, which is, I'm fine. Everything's fine. We're all fine. And certainly with our caree, I think we really feel this pressure to be fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. It's most important that we take time to turn off and take off that public mask so that we can say truthfully how we're feeling. And the 6-word stories really encourages and actually reminds me that I can get to the bottom line. I can challenge myself to get very clear about what it is right now that's difficult for me. And then I can turn it around to find a way forward. Yeah, you feel that you have to be fine. Yeah, absolutely, Susan. You feel like it. That's the pressure. I must be fine. If I'm not fine, no one's fine. Okay, love yourself. Do not feel guilty. I love that. And Pat sharing, though retired, not enough time. I will make time. What a powerful statement. I will make time. I will make time. I'm curious if there's a word on this wheel that really just resonates with you. And Joella is sharing, all is well with my soul. I gave them all my love. Beautiful, beautiful. For me, the word that always just jumps out is the word dread. I think sometimes we just have so much that we dread. And I think we often silence ourselves around the dread. And it's much more helpful, at least for me, to really express the dread. For instance, the dread of another death. I dread that. I really dread that. And then thinking, well, I can be present with love and support. And even as I dread it, I can also remind myself that I can feel empowered to face it. I don't have to stay in the dread. I can air the dread and then give myself a chance to move forward. Yeah, so the other words that are really jumping out, future and past. Yeah, future. Yeah, future. I'd love for you guys to think about how you could add this kind of exercise in your routine, again, whether it's quarterly, every 6 months, once a year, or daily. For me, I write these on Mondays. And I call them weekly caregiving comforts, and I write them and post them on Caring Our Way. And then I record a podcast reading them for you. So sometimes it's helpful to just listen to what it sounds like. And if you'd like, you could be inspired by what I post on Mondays and write your own version. So thinking about your writing habit is around, when is a good time for you to sit and write? Where is a good place for you to sit and write? I think our environment makes a difference. And then what will you write with? Are you pen and paper? Are you computer? Are you phone using notes? And why do you commit to a writing habit? Stress release, perspective pivoting, sense, bringing sense to what doesn't make sense, to bring closure to a story. Again, when we're repeating a story, we're looking for closure, and writing can help bring closure. And we have one last story in our chat room. Limit regrets to the past. Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, this was fun. I'm so glad you guys were all in on writing. And again, you can go to caringourway.com and look in our caregiving support section, and you'll see a section called Support, Compassion, and Comfort for You. And that's where I post my Monday messages. And if that's helpful, I'd love for you to join and then write what comes up for you based on that one word. Okay, we're going to take our next break. We're going to come back